we haven't seen a whole lot of Trey Lance. And it's
Right.
very likely that he's going to be starting on an NFL, on a Super Bowl ready team. What is the one thing he needs to improve this offseason for the Niners to be the Super Bowl contenders they see themselves as?
I think that this offense is vast. I mean, if you look at Matt Ryan in year 2 compared to Matt Ryan in year 1, I just think that there's so many complexities to Kyle's offense that I think it's more than anything. His number one thing is just more reps, mental and physical, in Kyle's offense.
Yeah.
Learning the playbook back and forth, so he knows. I mean, he set the protections at North Dakota State, but it's different in the NFL. And the one thing you need to be in the NFL is you need to be really, really smart to play quarterback. And Trey is smart.
Yeah.
But Kyle's system is vast, and I think all quarterbacks improve when they have more reps, mental reps in the offseason. So I'll say mental reps, but also being able to layer the ball and touch on the ball. This guy's got a great arm, but he's not Kaepernick in that Kaepernick never could work on that loft. But I think this is a player that we know, and he's got to work on throwing better spirals. And you show me a guy where the ball comes out of his hand hot, and it's not a spiral. And I'm going to show you a guy who's going to have a completion percentage around 60%. So that 60% ain't cutting it in the NFL. Jimmy this year, I think, was 68, wasn't he? Wasn't he like 68, 69%?
So.
He's got to be closer to 68, 69% in this offense. You have to be able to complete the passes that are there. And so he's got great arm speed, but it's hand placement and a number of things. He needs to work on throwing a tighter spiral, having good control of the football, loft, layering the ball, the nuances of being an NFL thrower, and the mental reps of the system.
What I feel like we saw it a lot in the preseason when he was throwing those short passes way too hard. Everything was the same speed and everything was the same release. And then I thought he improved as the season went on, but we need to see him be able to take something off. You can't, like when they roll you out and they have a dump off the Kittle in the flat, he struggled with that. He's like a pitcher who gets the ground ball and can't get the ball to first base. Like, run it there. So what he needs to, I think he needs a second release. He needs to work on like a sidearm release, something where it's just a little wrist flick. And you just look at Patrick Mahomes. He can do it. Stafford can do it. Rodgers can do it. There's different releases for different throws. And he has this big, powerful, over-the-top delivery that's, I think it's quicker than Kaepernick's ever was. As you said, I think he's better than Kaepernick. But if he could just work on a quick little sidearm flick for the throws in the flat, then he would complete 68% of his passes.
And I think the other thing that's really was also jumped out to me is that, people talk about, well, short quarterbacks get passes batted down. That's not about your height. Russell Wilson hardly ever has anything batted down. He's 5'11". It has to do with your eyes. Yeah. And how well you can manipulate the defenders with your eyes. And we saw Stafford look one way and throw another way.
Yes.
You're going to have to be able to throw off multiple platforms, and you're going to have to be able to thread the needle. I mean, there are times NFL quarterbacks have to make passes when they can't even see their receiver. So you're going to have to know the offense inside and out, know where your receivers are going to be just intuitively. But then you're also going to have to develop your ability to move the free safety with your eyes. And that's a learned trait. I mean, Montana was great at it at the end. Steve Young was great at it at the end. But you don't come into the league being this master manipulator with your eyes. It's a learned trait. So I think, that's one area that you'll see him improve dramatically as he gets more time.
And the fact that he's spending time this offseason with 3D QB, which is run by Tom House, is really the best thing you could hope for. He's 21. He's working with Tom House. Perfect. I mean, Colin Kaepernick never wanted to do that. And I think that was the big thing with Colin Kaepernick. He always was like, I don't need to do this. This part of the game, I got this. I need to work on it's like, no, Trey's not like that at all. So I actually am very high on him that he's going to get there.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Trey, I mean, you start checking the boxes. Does he physically have the profile? Yes. Does he have the work ethic? Yes. Does he love the process of football? Does he want to watch the film? Does he want to get better? How important is it to him to be a good football player? He's got all those things. Yeah. And, so the combination of great athleticism, great arm strength, the desire to get better, loving the process.
Great supporting cast.
It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. He's not there yet and may not be there this year, which is why I think the Brady thing makes a lot of sense for a team that wants a win now. And think about this, too. If the Niners did have Brady and they won the Super Bowl, how that would change Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch and how they're viewed by their own organization, by their own owner, by their own fan base. They're going to have a lot more rope and a lot more a lot more reservoir of goodwill if they can get that victory and develop this young quarterback.
Trey Niners asks, what is it about the front office that doesn't value secondary position after years of getting burned by that position? I don't know. We'll have to ask Parag that one.
Yeah, I don't think that they don't value it, but you know what I think it is? Go back to that Raider game a couple of years ago where the Niners were getting no rush and their secondary was getting toasted. In that game, they got push up front and their secondary stood up. And I think they noticed that and they said, you know what? It's really not our secondary. It's we just need to move that quarterback off the spot and get things done up front. And our secondary is good enough. There's some truth in that, but it's not the total answer. But I think that was their philosophy. And that's why they've spent their money up front.
It's like if you had to be weak somewhere on defense, better to be weak in the secondary. Fine. You're strong everywhere on your team. There's no reason to be weak in the secondary at this point. Just finish your team. Your team is this close to being the best team in the league. Why not?
Right.
Yeah. Stephon Gilmore for 2 years, play ones and slot. He'd be a great number 2 option if you don't get Jason. I loved Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, I mean, now we're talking about another player, though, that's 32, right? Isn't he a little bit older?
Yes.
And so you're going to pay him a ton.
Yeah.
And how much has he regressed? You know, I'd
have really be.
I would want to see him in a workout. I want to see exactly how healthy he is. I want to see exactly what I think he's got left because the price tag is going to be high, the cap number is going to be high, but he's what we're talking about. But was he the player that they needed 2 years ago, or because the player you're getting right now might not still be a number 1 corner?
Murphy asks if the Colts hand us the picks they got today for Jimmy, they got better and cost them nothing. Would the Niners take that deal or hold out for more though?
Well, the question is, would the Niners take two third-round draft choices for Jimmy Garoppolo? And you know what? I could make an argument that that Jimmy is worth more, but you could make an argument that Jimmy's worth a whole lot less. And there's a lot of factors here, including the shoulder surgery and the Niners cap and their ability to compete for J.C. Jackson. So there's multiple things impacting the price. That all being said, I think 2/3 sounds like a pretty good price.
Love JC or Reed for DBs, but any chance we look to pair Honey Badger with Ward? The Niners do need a strong safety too. What do you think?
I like Honey Badger a lot, but if I'm going to go spend big money on a safety, I want somebody. I'd rather move Jimmy to strong safety, put him in the box, and go get somebody who can cover the field. It's a passing game. You saw the one. I love Tart. Tart's not a coverage player. I love Hufanga. Yeah. Hufanga's not a coverage player. They've got a lot of strong safeties on this team, but they don't. And Ward is their only free safety, and as he ages, he's going to be more a box safety who blows people up. So I think what you really need is a younger, better version of Dante Johnson that can play a little nickel and play that free safety role. The guy that I like is a guy named Nick Cross, who plays at Maryland, who's a sprinter, really, really fast. You got to watch his film. I think he can play that deep middle and give him a coverage player.
I interviewed Jimmy Ward on this channel last year, and he said he'd love to play strong safety, but that's Jaquaski's position. He's very deferential to his friend. But I think from his perspective, he can do everything Honey Badger does and would like to prove it. So good call. Move him to strong safety. Get us a free safety.
Yeah.
You can't trade Kittle because the offense is going to explode with Lance. The offense has been so handicapped. Lance will be the difference. Kinlaw is a bust. Trade him with Jimmy to get better compensation. The thing with Kittle and Lance, I'm curious to see what that connection is going to be like. I'm just curious. I mean, Lance is going to throw a lot toward the sidelines because easier reads at the sidelines. No linebackers, no safeties. Plus, if you miss high, you hit a hot dog vendor and not a safety in the chest. I'm just saying.
Plus, I mean, one thing about Kittle is I think Kittle is a decent receiver who's a great inline blocker. Yes. I mean, how much you're going to miss him in the run game if you trade him.
Yes.
And also, I mean, heck, let's be honest, they're going to miss him marketing wise because he's the face of the team.
Yes. Yeah.
But
get DJ.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree though with your point though that he's packing on a lot of weight on a somewhat limited frame. And there's I never like to see guys who put on weight, lose weight, put on weight, lose weight.
McCaffrey.
Yeah.
McCaffrey's
another one.
Like that.
195, he's right. He's normal. At 210, he's too heavy.
That's what I'm saying. Get DJ Reed and Justin Reed secondary solve. Justin Reed, I think, is a better player than Eric Reed was.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I liked Eric Reed as a player, but Eric Reed was best as a rookie when he was letting his body, fly around and make hits. And then after that, I think he was a little bit guarded to really let it fly.
Agree. We got it. He's making business decisions. We got to try to get Alden Smith back. Man, he could have been good if he. Krueger and Cohn, what a collab. Listen to Krueger as a kid and discovered Cohn this past season. Congrats to both. You keep up the great work. Thank you, Eugene.
Got great kid? Day. You've been listening to me that long, Eugene? Now you were a kid. Now you're a man.
Jeez.
Time flies. I appreciate it, though, Eugene.
Yeah, absolutely. The Niner guy says, Larry, been listening to you for a long time. Now that I'm the demographic, FKMBR, what are your thoughts on Josh Pascal, Marcus Houston, Brian Cook?
Not a lot on those guys, to be honest. Yet, hit me in 3 weeks. I'll be more updated on my draft.
Carlos wants a straight answer. Larry, today is Jimmy G better than a better quarterback than Lance?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think if Lance had played the full year, it would have looked different, but I think the results would have been the same.
I think so too. And what we saw from Lance is he improved. Now there was some time between those starts, but he improved. With Jimmy, I haven't seen a guy who's improved. I mean, he was as good in 2017 as he is now, if not better. Maybe that's a failing of the 49ers and he'll just blossom somewhere else, but I think he's pretty much hit his ceiling.
I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo made the mistake that you can't make, and he made it over and over and over again, throwing late into the middle of the field, not having an account of the defenders. I mean,
talk about rookie mistakes.
How about this? If you just went back and watched the last, let's say, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 49er games, forget counting the interceptions. Count the number of interceptions that were dropped.
Yep.
Now, if every one of those gets caught, we're talking about this quarterback in a much different light. So what are we talking about?
And we're talking about a team that throws less than every team in the league except Seattle. So it's not like it's a bombs away and some of these are going to happen. Like with Stafford, that's kind of the cost of doing business in LA. They throw a ton and it evens out. And when he does get picked, it's like a 70-yard punt down the field. When Jimmy gets picked, it's the guy 5 feet in front of him. It's like, you really didn't see him again. That's the thing with training camp. They always try to pump him up, but he just throws interceptions to Fred Warner relentlessly all day. So, pretty good, but
how many people watch that Packer-Niner game were like ripping Rodgers, who nearly completed 80% in 0 degrees? He had 3 blatant drops of his own receivers. Otherwise, he's completing 80% in 0 degrees. And yet people were saying, but Jimmy almost threw like 2 pick sixes in the second half of that game. They were both dropped. Or they were both, neither was a pick six. If either of those are a pick six, nobody feels that way about Jimmy. So we oftentimes overreact to the results and not look at what we're actually seeing out there. Jimmy struggled. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I know he's popular in the room, but he struggled.
Last question, then we're out. Anoop says Niners need to hire a new executive worthy of hoisting the Lombardi. Think Carmen policy, right tackle bookend needed, retain the D-line secondary. What about the first part? An executive worthy of hoisting? I think they need to just stop relying on Parag so much. I think they've outgrown his Moneyball tactics. Win the freaking Super Bowl. I think some of his philosophies hold you back from getting over the top. I don't know.
I like John Lynch, and I think John Lynch has grown into the job. And I think the Niners have some pretty good scouts, which is why their day 3 action is good and why their undrafted free agent signings are often good. But I'll say this, my biggest complaint with the Niners personnel, stop listening and respecting Kyle Shanahan on offensive players. I mean, how many times, Dante Pettis,
Jared McKinnon, Tevin Coleman.
We could go on and on and on and on and on. I mean, how about the wrong that there was Jamal Williams who was at BYU. They draft a guy, Joe Williams, out of Utah. They couldn't even get the right Williams in the state of Utah. I mean, they've swung and missed so many times, it seems, on some of these guys. And they're like, that's Kyle's guy. Trent Taylor is going to be great. All these guys are going to be great. Kyle is an awesome play caller, and I think he's got a good eye for personnel, but he falls in love with guys that,
his dad was the same way.
What did
His
you
dad
see in
was the
Dante
same way.
Pettis? Dante Pettis wasn't tough. He wasn't strong. He wasn't fast. So if you can't beat the jam at the line of scrimmage and you're slow,
Uh-huh.
I mean, what
You're out of the
Pettis had nothing. So
nothing.
the swing and the miss, they've taken a lot of swings and misses on skilled position guys. Jalen Hurd. We could go, I mean, you name a round and we can name 5 different guys that they've swung and missed on. So
Yeah.
I would say, love Kyle, think he's a cool guy, great play caller, and I think he's a good leader for the team. But lean on your scouts. Those are the guys who've been on campus. Those are the guys who know these players. You wouldn't be finding undrafted free agents and studs in day 3 of the draft if you didn't have good scouts. Lean on them.
Lynch loves him some Pac-12 players. Also, Lynch was a 3rd-round pick, and he's never drafted a DB before round 3. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe he feels like if you can get a John Lynch in round 3, why draft someone before then? I don't know.
I will say this: safety seems like one of those positions even in this draft. Some of my favorite players. I mentioned that kid Nick Cross out of Maryland. There's a guy named Wanye Thomas who plays for Georgia Tech, who looked really good in the East-West Shrine game. Some of these guys don't have great 40s times and don't have great workout numbers, but the safety position is about instincts. And if you're fast and you're running the wrong direction, you're just further out of the play. So I'll take
There's more. Come on down.
Yeah, I'll take the instinct. I'll take the instinctive, safety who doesn't run a great 40 time on day 3 and call myself lucky.